I'm George Curtis. Welcome to It's Your Law. Each week it's my privilege to bring guests that tell us something that we maybe knew and thought we knew or knew differently than it really is about our law, how our laws are produced, passed, repealed, enforced, not always enforced, at least not against everybody. But it's our legal system that governs our civilization, and it's important that we as citizens know about our law and our public servants that are working that end of our lives, because we have a right, a privilege, and a duty to elect other public servants if we don't think the current crop is up to the challenge. My guests make this show. That's the longest speech I'm going to give, and I just finished it. Today's guest is somebody I've known for probably 25 years, Barb Hart Key. I should say, Your Honor, Barb Hart Key. She's a retired judge, but she's not really retired. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, George.
You and I met a long time ago, and you, I think, had a history before you came to Winnebago County, where you had worked for a summer in, was it Eagle River or?
That was an internship in Eagle River, and then my first job out of law school was in Wisconsin Rapids.
Okay. And then you came here to Winnebago County, and you were with the district attorney's office. Well, I'm not going to tell the story. You tell it.
Well, that's sure. Great. And yeah, I'll say I've known you since I came to Winnebago County as a prosecutor, but I started first in law school. Just background a little bit. I went into law school thinking one area I didn't want to get into was criminal law, and what did I end up in was criminal law. I just found it very fascinating at the time, and I ended up in a prosecutor's office in Wisconsin Rapids for 2 years, and then came to Winnebago County, and that was in 1985. It was actually 40 years ago, July 1st, that I came to Winnebago County. It's been a few years, so actually it's been more than 25 that I've known you.
Wow.
And so I came to Winnebago County as an assistant DA. I'm sure you remember Peg Lautenschlager. Peg,
very well.
Yeah,
yes.
And just wonderful, wonderful person that person to work for, and we were sworn in together. Actually, she was sworn in as DA. I was sworn in as assistant DA on the same day. And so, in any event, I was in the DA's office, became a deputy DA, and prosecuted obviously a number of cases, and then ran for DA and lost, and was looking at other opportunities, and then you called and said, "Hey, what do you think about working in private practice?" And so
I remember that.
Yeah. So then I worked with you at the Curtis firm for 2 years, and actually then and while I was doing that, I did, because I started in prosecution and then went into some criminal defense work and had my first jury trial in criminal defense, and then also did personal injury work. Had jury trial in personal injury on a car accident case, so I had a little bit of background in all areas, and then was appointed court commissioner in 1991. So then from 91 to 98, I was handling as court commissioner here in Winnebago County, appointed by the judges, and court commissioner basically handles all kinds of cases, and I kind of call them, they're the ones that, in that funnel, they're taking the majority of cases, and then until the ones where there are significant disputes, either of fact or legally, those end up in front of the judges then. But so I did the court commissioner work for 7 years, and then was elected judge in 1998. And so pretty much had the whole background from criminal prosecution, criminal defense, some private practice. Oh, and I should say, in between, just before I was appointed court commissioner, I had actually was going to expand out and do criminal defense work in the public defender's office. But then the court commissioner job opened up, and couldn't pass that up. So I was actually in the public defender's office for 10 weeks, supervising the office up in Appleton, and then became court commissioner.
Well, I remember a number of things about when you were in our office. You worked very hard, but you were distracted by a handsome guy with a beard named Jeff Key.
That's right. Yeah, along the way in that period, let's see, got married, had, I think when I was working here, had one child, our oldest, and then ended up having two more. So, in fact, by the time I was elected during that campaign and when I was sworn in, our youngest was one.
But, and there were more children. How many children?
Three kids. Three kids.
In total to raise those three kids. Was it 98 when you first got elected as judge?
Correct.
And then
correct.
you got elected 3 more times?
Right.
And they're 6-year terms?
Yeah.
So how long were you a judge?
Yeah, 24 years. 24
Wow.
years. And I still, when I retired, which was a few years ago now, 3 years, I really loved what I did. I can't deny that. I was turning 65. For family reasons, it just made sense that it was a time that I needed to retire. But I can't say I loved what I did. So then I did still want to continue in some role, and so I still I do reserve judge work now. That's one thing in which appointed to do cases where or days of a calendar for a judge if, say, a current judge is either ill or there's reasons for which they can't be on the bench that day and they need someone to get in there pretty quickly to take over the cases. I'll do those, or if there's some other basis for which they need to have a reserve come in, I'll come in. It's not real often, but it'll be a few times a year. And so I try to keep my hands in that a little bit, and then also do a little bit of mediation as well, where I'll try to help the parties come to resolution of their case. So,
well, we're going to have to take our first break. It's surprising how fast 8 minutes go when you're having a good time. And when we come back, I'm going to have a question about a recent, very impressive award and recognition you got from the State Bar.
okay. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to It's Your Law. I'm George Curtis. My guest is Judge Barb Hart Key, the recent award winner of an honor with the State Bar of Wisconsin Bench and Bar Committee, a Lifetime Jurist Award. That's outstanding and well-deserved. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you.
It very, very special. It was something for which I never expected, obviously, anything like that. You do your job, and I worked with a lot of wonderful, wonderful people and very hard-working, conscientious judges throughout the state on different committees over the years. In any event, I just looked up to them, and when I got this award, I thought, how did I get this? It was very meaningful to me, and I had an opportunity. I don't know if I should have. I got to see a few of the letters. It was those that nominated me were local colleagues and attorneys, and it was really special to see some of the things they wrote. And you go through again doing your job day to day, and you don't expect those things, and when people tell you what they think about what you did after all those years, it's pretty meaningful. Very, very, very meaningful and very touching. And I was very honored.
And very well deserved. This is in part for writing and working on committees. Pinnacle is one of the publications of the bar, and you contributed educational articles to all of the lawyers in the state with Pinnacle. Also, the model instructions that go in a book, and there's a set right behind you in this library, that are the instructions that are given to juries to decide cases fairly. And all of the effort that you did in the community. You were a big part of the community besides practicing law from the bench. And the most important thing, I think, is your work on the bench, because when people went to Judge Key's court, you couldn't declare both sides winners, but you could patiently listen, even to people who had language problems, educational weaknesses, let's say, and you gave them dignity, and you let them tell their story, which is a big part of the process. So you deserve all the awards you've gotten. You're really an honor to the profession and the bench, and your patience every time I saw you work made me realize what a great decision I'd made to not be a judge.
Thank you, George. It's pretty touching, it really is. But yeah, it's to be a judge, what you want, hopefully, is just that when people leave, they feel that they were heard and that they got a fair shot. Not everybody can win. In fact, sometimes I used to say, probably, if both sides left not totally happy, that was probably the right decision in a lot of cases. But if they felt they were heard and that they were treated fairly, and again, all of that has to be done within the realm of what the law is. And sometimes that's not always, that's a challenge in itself, because the law may not seem fair to people in some circumstances. But whatever the law is, that's what you got to apply too.
And most of these people leave with a sense that they were respected and they were heard, even though they were wrong on the law or wrong on the facts, or they'd done something very bad or very foolish and they couldn't win. But you listened to them, yeah. And they felt they told their story to somebody who was listening, and that's a gift that a small percentage of judges have, and I don't think I have it.
I'd like to think I don't know if I had it all the time. I'd like to hope I had it.
Well, I saw you handle cases where the folks didn't have an attorney, couldn't afford an attorney, or didn't like what the attorney told them, so they went
right
to do it themselves. That requires wisdom and patience, and the
trick. Sometimes I think the trick is just putting yourself in their place. Yeah. A lot of times, it is that idea that you just understand. Everybody's got their challenges, and whatever those challenges are, it makes it a little bit difficult for them in that whole system of justice too. And the system of justice has to be what it is. I mean, we have to have our rules. We have to have our rules that we all have to follow. But people within that can really struggle.
Well, and if you listen to them as you do and did, they feel less needy to go out and take it into their own hands and do violence.
That's what you hope.
What you hope. I mean, that's...
And I think, other than obviously in the cases in which, if you really believe there is someone who's a danger and you have the law in front of you in terms of whatever the charges are, that's a whole different circumstance. But ones where I think that is it's an important part of our system, that people do be heard and have that opportunity to, in a civil discourse, be able to resolve their disputes.
Yeah. And during the period of time that you were a judge, there were some big changes that took place that came so fast they overtook some of us. And I'm still dealing with, COVID changed so many things. Then the technology, and now we're doing trials remotely. We're doing depositions by Zoom. We're going to have to take another break. We've lost another 8 minutes. But when we come back, I want you to talk about some of those things because you were right in the middle of a couple of revolutions, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to It's Your Law. I'm George Curtis, and my guest today is Judge Barbhart Key, and she and I have lived the same segment of Wisconsin jurisprudence from a different point of view, but not entirely. We were just talking off camera about some of the changes that she was a jury trial lawyer, which is what drew me into this profession, and a lot of that has changed. Zoom has changed, mediation and alternate dispute resolution has changed, and while some of us have had 100 or more jury trials today, it's hard to find lawyers that have had a dozen. Just tell us about these changes and the changes that you've participated in and what you think of them.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of one of those things, as you're going through it, you're not real happy about it, and you have to adjust to it. And in the end, it's like you look back and, well, are we any better off for it? Probably, but it was a tough job in the middle of that change. But I think we were talking a little bit about number one in terms of Zoom. That was something. That was during COVID, obviously. And we just had to find a way to be able to conduct court where we couldn't always be there. And the Supreme Court actually, well, even the director of state courts for the whole state at the time, was able to find this thing called Zoom, as I say. And most of us didn't even know what it was, but literally got licenses for the courts so we could start conducting court by Zoom. And actually, Wisconsin was one of the leaders in the nation on it, to be honest. And I just remember trying to figure it out in my house, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. My daughter came, and she was staying at that time because of the lockdown, and just shook her head and left the room as she saw me trying to figure this out. But eventually we got it all figured out. We got our Zoom hooked up in our homes, and we're able to keep court going. And so it was one of those things where we're going to get through this somehow. But with that said, I think we found out, and as everybody else around the nation and world has, that there are things that we can conduct by Zoom, quite a bit more than we thought we could. Now, obviously, there's efficiencies. But again, this is discussions for other days about how much of that you really want to do. You still need that personal interaction. I wouldn't want to be in the house all the time doing my court hearings. I want to be at work. I want to be with the people I work with. I want to be able to have that interaction with people, the face-to-face with people. So when needed, it's good, but would I want to do it all the time? No. And do I think it's healthy all the time? No. I think courts are still where you want to have, and it's most important to have that interaction face-to-face with people, because that's what we are. We're there for the people. So that's what I'd say about that. In terms of just the general evolution in our courts of what we've seen over the last, well, you've seen more than me too, George, but in terms of what's happened in mediation with that, with other alternative dispute resolutions, it's an area that just exploded right around the time I was coming over as court commissioner, actually. And it's an area in which attorneys, it's in their blood, or it was, I don't know where it is now, but to want to try cases. Trial lawyers want to try cases. And in mediation, you're not trying cases, you're trying to resolve them. Well, probably what's better for the clients, it's probably if you can get a resolution that both sides can agree to, that's probably a good thing. Something where they both have limited the odds of losing, and they can have a say in the results of their case. That's probably better in most cases. And I think attorneys eventually came around to it, but it took quite a while. But I think the way it was handled in Winnebago County from the beginning was pretty good, because it started more with small claims in areas where the attorneys, even though they may not have liked some of them, a lot of them were great for ones where they didn't have, where it was a pro se or people didn't have attorneys, so it helped other cases where the attorneys could work on their larger cases. But eventually then they realize even on the large cases, mediation is a way that can really help resolve these cases. So I think over the years, we've evolved from the early 90s, I'd say, when these types of alternative disputes were started, resolution was started, to where now we're at a point where if people really can't resolve it, sure, it can still go to trial. But the vast, vast majority are going to be able to be resolved through mediation or some other form of alternative dispute resolution.
Well, trials, especially involving the industry of expert witnesses, have become terribly expensive. And the Supreme Court in the Alt case tells your treating physicians they don't have to testify. That means you have to go in the market with the insurance companies and compete with IME, high-priced, powerful doctors who testify for the side that hired them. And that takes the ordinary citizen with a small case out of the business. You can win your case and lose money. And so the cost of justice is something that is a real reality and not a very pleasant one.
That's a good point, yeah. And that's the part of it that the courts don't necessarily see. Those practicing see that all the time, how that actually, what the reality of it all is.
But you saw juries hundreds of times. I'd like your evaluation of juries and your confidence that juries are going to do the right thing.
I have when I say total confidence, I have total confidence that they're going to look at the facts, they're going to work at it hard, they're going to come to the best version of what they believe the truth is. And it's the best system of justice out there. Am I going to say that 100% of the time, do we all get everything right? I can't say that with certainty, but I don't think that there is any system that is better than our system of justice in terms of getting both sides out there to be able to present the case, be able to go. The whole system of justice is such, what I should even back up more, I actually served on a jury in the last couple of years and was so incredibly impressed with how the jury worked hard at it. It wasn't a case in which I just thought of a verdict like that. They went through all the facts. What amazed me was how all the different jurors seemed to have different facts that they took down. They actually wrote all the notes. Everybody thought, well, what about this part? Well, what about this part? And then someone said, but look at the timeline. Look at what happened here. And by the time you put it all together, it was amazing how they were able to come up with that verdict, or we did. And it was because of, the group as a whole were resolute, were very hardworking, and took that job incredibly seriously and listened to the instructions. That part of it I have high confidence in. Now again, when people look at certain cases or follow something in the news and don't agree with the decision, usually first thing I want to say is, well, were you there? Yeah. Unless you were there, it's hard to know.
Well, let's end on that note. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that was a beautiful educational instruction by Judge Key about the jury system. I do believe that it's the most important system in this country for the safety of justice. I believe that when you take 12 strangers who've never met each other before and put them in a room to make important decisions for litigants, it's impossible to corrupt them. They are strangers. They're like the rest of us. They like to get home to their families. They have taken jury duty as a citizen's duty so important. They know how to get out of jury duty. Just as important as voting, the responsibility of our citizens in assuming the decision-making requirements of citizenship has resulted in the best justice system in the world. Let's fight to protect it. That's my opinion. Thank you for watching.